Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. I'm Cody Proctor. Let's get started. We begin tonight with breaking news. The Spokane County Sheriff's Office, SWAT team, and crisis negotiators brought an armed man into custody tonight after a multi-hour long standoff. Around 5 o'clock this afternoon, 57-year-old Raymond Schultz approached three men working on a car that had broken down on the side of the road outside of his home. Schultz got into an argument with the men and eventually pulled a handgun out and pointed it at them, firing a round. None of the men were injured. When Schultz refused to leave, a search warrant was obtained and officers were able to safely de-escalate the situation. He was arrested just after 8 o'clock tonight and is being transported to the Spokane County Jail for 3 counts of second-degree assault. Well, in the meantime, let's switch over now to check in with our forecast, because yesterday we saw those storms move in. Tonight, meteorologist Michelle Boss is joining us this evening. And Michelle, we saw red flag warnings are in effect through tomorrow morning. What does this mean for us? What could we be looking at for the potential for more storms in our area?
Well, things have really wound down across the inland northwest. We had a few severe storms earlier this morning. Those have pushed off into northwest Montana. The only red flag warning that is still in effect is for Okanogan County, and that will actually expire at 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. So just about 3 more hours for that as we look for some much quieter weather for the weekend. As we take a look at satellite and radar, mostly clear conditions across eastern Washington and North Idaho. We're still picking up a few isolated showers across portions of the central and southern Idaho panhandle. There were a few storms in the north central Washington along the Canadian border. Those have pushed to the north. So we could see a few sprinkles early tomorrow morning as a cold front pushes through. But for the most part, all the stormy weather has passed by. Still pretty mild tonight. 82 right now in Spokane, 80 in Moses Lake, 82 in Lewiston. But it won't be as hot tomorrow. We'll start off with temperatures in the lower 60s. Should see mostly sunny skies and looking at highs in the 80s for both Saturday and Sunday with sunshine.
Michelle, thank you so much. In the meantime, you better take a look at this next story. Yesterday's storms led to damage all across the inland northwest. And for one Liberty Lake winery, the storm actually took place right in the middle of a release party for them, and it ended up forcing staff and guests to take cover.
The surprising thing was, you get warnings of hail and they say golf ball, or this time it was tennis ball. And it didn't really click on how big these hailstones were going to be, because we just don't get that here.
And after the storm moved on, the winery suffered some damage to their vehicles and their outside AC unit. The winery says they've already filed insurance claims for the damage. Some of their employees that also lived nearby suffered damage to their homes. Moving on now to Night Beat with a quick look at the day's top stories. The Idaho Supreme Court will not block the state's new abortion laws from taking effect next week. This means that on August 25th, trigger laws go into effect in the state of Idaho. The law is a near total ban, which means it will be a felony to get an abortion in Idaho, punishable by 2 to 5 years in prison. According to our sister station KTVB, the decision was not unanimous, with one justice publishing a partial dissenting opinion. Fernand Lake is once again battling an algae bloom. Yesterday, Idaho health officials issued a public health advisory for the lake. The public's urged to use caution when in or near the water. It's important not to ingest it because the algae blooms can be toxic and even fatal for pets. Children, the elderly, and people with compromised immune systems are most at risk of harmful exposure. When temperatures rise, the algae can bloom and toxic chemical compounds can be released into the water. Health experts say signs of exposure are rashes, hives, and vomiting. A hacker ended up accessing the private information of more than 18,000 former Multicare patients. A Multicare partner company discovered the breach earlier this year. The company managed to stop further access and contacted law enforcement. Patients' medical conditions, service dates, and provider names are all at risk from the hack. Those impacted will receive a notice. The partner company is providing credit monitoring services for those patients. And that was your Night Beat. To learn more about any of these stories, just text the word NIGHT to 509-448-2000. We'll send them right to your phone. Moving on now to a KREM 2 exclusive. Court documents show a Spokane police drone was attacked midair as it flew over the homeless camp near Interstate 90 in Freya. Police say a person in a tent launched their own drone and tried to take down SPDs. KREM 2's Kyle Simchuk looked into the bizarre case today.
Spokane police had launched their drone because they were chasing after a burglary suspect who actually went into the camp to hide from them. Their drone was rammed by another drone, and there was some damage done. Drones have soared in popularity over the years, and they've proven to be a useful tool for the Spokane Police Department.
The community benefits because we're able to find these people. Officers benefit because we're not walking into an ambush. And the suspect benefits because we're able to use other tools and tactics to come up with a peaceful resolution.
They also help officers see in the dark. When an armed suspect tried to hide in someone's backyard, officers knew exactly where he was. You can see police here. The suspect is the white dot.
Found the suspect hiding, was able to position officers in such a way that they could protect the public, but then also begin de-escalation.
Back in July, Spokane police were on the trail of a burglar who stole a laptop from a business on South Freya. The suspect darted into the homeless camp and eventually into a tent. Police launched a drone, and within minutes, a person living at the camp decided to launch his own to try to take down SPDs. If you look closely, you can see that drone here in this picture in a search warrant. Because it's still an open investigation, police aren't yet releasing the video. But the homeless camper flew right toward the SPD drone and rammed it, breaking off a propeller.
Anytime law enforcement is deploying a relatively new technique or tool, there are people that have the opposite interest, right? They are trying to avoid being apprehended. They are trying to hinder investigations.
Officers were able to arrest the burglary suspect, but now had an entirely different investigation. Witnesses at the camp told police they knew who was responsible and that he had several drones in his tent. But when officers searched it, they couldn't find any. The investigation is ongoing. And Corporal Nick Briggs tells us to the best of his knowledge, this is the first time anyone has targeted an SPD drone. In Spokane, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
Kyle, thank you so much. Well, topping our Northwest news tonight, police in Oregon took down a massive multi-million-dollar catalytic converter crime ring. Officials say they arrested the ringleaders accused of trafficking tens of millions of dollars worth of stolen car parts. Police say more than 44,000 stolen catalytic converters were trafficked in just a year and a half. Their estimated street value, more than $22 million.
They were renting a summer lake house. I think it's important to note that the defendants in this case were living a nice life. And they were doing so because they were stealing catalytic converters from people or receiving stolen catalytic converters from people.
So far, 14 people have been charged. Police say in addition to the catalytic converters, they seized hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash, a high-end vehicle, and jewelry. A search warrant and an inventory of what the FBI took from former President Donald Trump's Florida home is now public.
The search warrant was authorized by a federal court upon the required finding of probable cause.
Agents were directed to seize items marked as classified or related to national security. The FBI retrieved 11 sets of records during Monday's search at Mar-a-Lago, including some labeled top secret. Today, House Democrats celebrated passage of the Inflation Reduction Act Friday, which includes nearly $400 billion to fight climate change, the largest single investment in U.S. history.
This legislation is historic, it's transformative.
Democrats, more than any other majority in history, are addicted to spending other people's money.
Democrats say the landmark bill will lower energy costs, providing tax credits to those who buy green and manufacturers who build it. All Republicans oppose the bill, saying it will hurt the economy. The bill now goes to President Joe Biden to sign. And that was your KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where you get more news in less time. But don't go to bed just yet. Some local kids bringing new meaning to the saying, when life gives you lemons. More on that when we're back in 90 seconds.